Okay, welcome, Julie. Julie's been in the. How long have you been in the program?
I started January 1st of this year.
Very
so
nice.
Coming up to a year.
So almost a year.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So talk to me about who was Julie pre-program. Tell me like a bit about your athletic history and kind of, the journey before Best of You.
So I'm a mom of three. I have a 9, 7, and 4-year-old, and we have a busy life and running around taking care of them a lot. And I have a full-time job and career.
What do you do?
I'm a consultant, a government relations consultant.
Very nice.
So I'm a
Busy.
lobbyist, basically.
Yeah. Okay.
So but I grew up as an athlete and grew up in a very athletic house and came from a long line of rowers and
Very good.
got into rowing in high school and ended up getting a scholarship down to University of Texas.
Amazing.
Austin.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So I spent 4 years down there and then had a career-ending injury that kind of ruined my rowing career. But, things
happens.
Things happen for a reason. But always, very active and physical and got into triathlons after and
Oh, good.
did that for a number of years and then, had back surgery and all kinds of stuff. So my health always kind of took a bit of a up and down.
Yeah.
And then through all of that, I would say the majority of my athletic career, I had an eating disorder that was kind of a big part of probably why I had a career-ending injury.
Yeah. How come? Because you weren't properly nourished?
I'd say that, and I took a pretty terrible fall off of a treadmill and
Oh no.
had kind of blacked out and herniated 3 discs. And
Oh, man.
that kind of ended it for me. So
Yeah. How old were you?
when that happened, I was about 21.
Yeah.
Started rowing competitively when I was 15. And so when I graduated, I was, early 20s, had always been an athlete. And it was kind of like, how do you
Stop being an athlete.
How do you stop being an athlete, but also kind of realizing I had this other kind of really ugly thing in my life that, consumed, as eating disorders do, they consume all of you.
Yeah.
And I just kind of channeled it into new things. I started exercising 6 hours a day.
Okay.
And it spiraled. So when I was 25, I kind of, got confronted with family and friends who said,
This has to stop.
This has to stop. And I came from a line of family members who had struggled with eating disorders over the years. And I think I, kind of hit a point where I said, either I can be the one who ends it here.
Good for you.
And so I kind of channeled my athletic, I turned a switch and said, I'll go to treatment. I'll do what I need to do. And I want to deal with this before I'm 30. Like I want to get married and have kids, and I can't have this be something that is a part of the next chapter.
What
of
a
my life.
huge decision that is, to put the brakes on, because we avoid the work because it's hard, right? And you had to put the brakes on life.
Yeah.
To be able to do that.
And I was just I just come home from grad school, and I was.
What did you graduate in?
Broadcast journalism.
Very nice.
And I'll say the impetus for me, my brother and his wife were having a little girl that summer, and I had spent, they had a 2-year-old at the time, and I knew we were bringing another girl into our family.
Yeah.
And
Did you have a boy first?
Yeah, they had a boy
first.
And I thought, okay, like
this hit you.
It hit me because I knew I was kind of starting to think about kids and what's that going to look like for me.
Like you feel kind of responsible for whatever influence you're going to have on this little girl.
Does she need to see her aunt and know somebody who's strong and athletic and successful and all of these things, or is she going to see me be a mess? And is that something I'm willing to let her see? And not to say it's only girls, but for me it was. Yeah. I vividly remember saying, okay, she's going to be born this summer. I'll go. And I went that summer. I spent almost 3 months in treatment, and that was it. Like, it was a big turning point.
That's
for me. It wasn't,
amazing.
you know, a quick fix, but
you knew you had work to do after.
Yeah. She's 16 now, so I kind of marked that.
Wow.
That time of knowing that, you know, it was something I had to do.
Good for you. Congratulations.
Yeah,
just on that. It's incredible that you stopped. You didn't, and you also didn't want it to bleed into your adult life.
No.
When you start your own family, and that was always of concern, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So when did you meet your husband, get married?
So I met him. We were both working in the government in Ottawa, and
oh wow,
we had started emailing because we were working on sort of colliding files, and met that way. And I was 31, I think, 31. Yeah, we were engaged 6 months later and got married 6 months after that.
Jeez.
And, yeah, the rest is history.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you started quick. You guys had babies right away?
We had babies right away. Yeah, I was, I think, 10 months after our wedding.
Very nice.
Our son was born. And I think when you move into being a mom and you go through this beautiful, magical pregnancy, and you know, we had a very traumatic delivery, and it started to, I would say that was kind of, you know, we had been relatively healthy up until then. We were exercising and eating well, and, you know, you have your wedding, and so you're kind of in your best place.
Yes.
I gained 60 pounds when I was pregnant, and I didn't know what to do with myself. I was like, wow, how did that happen?
Yeah.
And then I was on bed rest for almost 3.5 months after I had him. So it really, for me.
How come? What was the cause?
I had an emergency C-section that turned into something really ugly. So,
yeah, we don't have to talk about that.
Yeah. So.
Okay, so difficult time again.
And then got pregnant like 19 months later, or not even.
So back-to-back pregnancies.
Back-to-back pregnancies. And hadn't lost the weight for my first pregnancy.
Yeah.
Gained probably another 40 pounds with the second pregnancy. And then that's when I started to kind of refocus a bit on, I need to lose nutrition. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even say nutrition. It was like kind of going back into my, like, how can I lose weight quickly? Because
that's what I was going to say.
It certainly
there wasn't any transition where, because you went from healing yourself to probably just stopping all the behaviors that you were putting yourself through, and then, but there was no like, oh, this is how I'm going to do it now.
No, it was
moving
like,
forward.
What do I do?
This is my lifestyle.
Yeah.
Like,
I need to cut everything, and it
you
becomes
go back
very
to
restrictive.
that thinking.
And so, that's kind of what it looked like after my second, and then I had a miscarriage after him, and you know, then you're moving through the grief of
emotional,
that, and then had my third in middle of COVID.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it was just like
stress trauma.
Wow, this motherhood thing is beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, this has been a great, 5 years. So all of that, I would say.
So now you're in survival.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
This
like,
is
there was
no longer.
No, and my second and third pregnancies were great, but I had C-sections for both of them, and those kind of aren't easy to bounce back from, and you go through stressful stuff afterwards, and we just weren't taking care of ourselves.
Your husband too, right?
My husband too, yeah.
3 kids, even if you were in the best of shape, is all hands on deck with
100%.
three young kids.
Yeah, and we couldn't have all hands on deck.
No,
during COVID, it was our COVID was a bit amplified because of some kind of
other stuff
that happened after my daughter was born.
Yeah.
And so we were very limited we kind of locked our doors and kept to ourselves. Right. So we Uber Eats a lot. We made my husband's an amazing chef. He made amazing lasagnas and pastas 4 nights a week.
I mean, we were bored. We had to do something with our time.
Yeah.
You couldn't really leave your house.
No.
You weren't exposing your children.
Yeah.
So it's like you just passed the time.
Yeah.
Then before you know it, COVID ends.
And I hadn't stepped on a scale in 2 years.
Yeah.
And my husband is amazing and just kept saying, you look great. No, you don't look like you need anything. And I'm like, just be honest.
His
like,
heart.
Just be honest.
That guy ain't going there. He's like, I know better. I'm going to support my wife.
Yeah. So I'd say at the end of 2023, I said, okay, I'm going to just peek and see what this looks like. And I'm going to hop on a scale and see how bad it is. Because when you put on clothes and you're like living in sweats for 2 years of COVID, like, what have I done to myself here?
Absolutely. That was a lot of people's reality. A lot of people woke up to that. They woke up to 2023 being like, okay.
Yeah. I haven't seen people in 2 years and I haven't looked in a mirror.
And so when did your friend tell you about the program? Because that was your first introduction to it, right?
Yeah.
Did you express to people that you like, was it something like where you're like, oh, I got to do something or...
Yeah, I mean, I had seen other people posting about different things they were doing, and I think you kind of get an awareness for it on social media.
Yeah.
And people had started talking. The Ozempic thing was starting to become a big topic. It was
the very beginning, of it getting awareness.
Yeah, and I think it became like, why don't you just do that?
Oh yeah,
why don't you just do that?
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what, if I'm going to spend the money on something, and my friend had told me about your program, I thought, why don't I do this for 6 months?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm going to throw money at something, let's see if this works.
Yeah.
And then we'll start to look at other options if this doesn't.
Was there hesitation in the back of your mind, though, thinking, am I also setting myself up for something that I don't want to deal with? Or, was there any worry there about...
Because of the food component of it?
Yeah, just...
You know what? It was other people saying it to me.
They
other
did.
Family who had said to me, "Are you sure you want to do this? Like, is this gonna trigger you?" And for me, I mean, it was so rear view mirror for me because I was thinking, 16 years I'd been kind of in remission from dealing with this, and it flares up from time to time over the years, and you can kind of put it out pretty quick. But I think for me, I was like, what have I got to lose? Honestly, like I feel terrible.
You're 60 pounds overweight or more.
At least.
Yeah. And you're sitting there going, here's the two options. Stay the way I am, unhealthy, or challenge myself, my adult self, to figuring this out.
And I think, I started looking at some of the interviews you had done and went online and started looking. And I think connecting the nutrition piece of it, like,
so you heard that repeatedly in the women's thoughts
going in your body, and sort of fueling your body to make it work the way it's supposed to. And I'm very aware that I'm not 22 anymore.
Exactly.
And so kind of realizing in your early 40s, hormones change and your body does things it's never done before.
And your body's being stressed for a number of years. You've had a few traumatic events happen, so it's like you've actually had even more stress than the average person. So and that's going to also trigger.
Yeah, and I reassured. My husband was all in. Like he didn't even. I said, I'm going to talk to this lady. I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be a bit of money. He's like, do what you need to do. Like we'll make it work, and you're going to do it either. You're either going to, I just joined a new gym at that point. So he was like, let's get healthy this year. Let's just do it.
And see that's the beautiful thing. It was like, let's get healthy. It wasn't like, Julie, like, do your thing.
No,
he was all in.
He was
like, let's focus on ourselves this year. Let's do something for us.
Our kids are all...
They're healthy. They're good.
Older.
Yeah, older.
I'm not dealing with babies anymore. And so he was all in with me, and he was just like, just tell me what to do. Like, tell me what we're eating.
Yeah.
And what does it look like for me?
I'm game.
Yeah. And he lost 30 pounds, like, I told you before, like by March, I think he was down 30 pounds. It was
good old guys.
Yeah. So it's, I'd say it's been not perfect all year. Like there have been obviously, you go through periods of like, how are we going to deal with this? Like, but yeah, it's been really good.
Good. When was there ever a point in the journey where you were like a sigh of relief about anything, the information,
I think the sigh of relief was that it worked, and it was like, okay, so my body isn't broken. Like it really is about the food, and it's not about restricting. And I think that's what I kept saying to people who were like,
because you're going to get skeptics on the way.
Well, and
especially if they know you.
Because people who knew me and knew what I had dealt with, in my teens and 20s, they were like, so you've lost weight like pretty quick. Is this going to be a problem now?
Yeah.
It's like, well, no, because I think this is now my body going back to probably where it's supposed to be.
Absolutely.
And you guys haven't seen me not 60 to 80 pounds overweight for the last 10 years.
So it's going to be different.
It's going to be different, and that doesn't mean it's a problem. It means like my body is like, oh, thank God. Like we're back
it's relieved. Your body took a sigh of relief. Yeah. It's like, thanks for getting me back.
Yeah. And I think from an athletic point of view, like I treated it very much like kicked in that sort of athletic mindset where I'm like, we're doing this. This is 2024. Like we're committed for the year. And let's see what happens. And I got back into playing tennis very competitively and
wow,
doing classes a lot and just feeling like
back to your old self,
back to my old self, and new version of that. Like obviously your 40-year-old body isn't.
Yeah. Are you 40 now?
I'm
42. Okay.
Yeah. So it's been, I think, just allowing myself to have all of those opportunities. Like, sure, I can go play tennis again. Yeah, I'm going to start playing more competitively. And it's okay. Like, I know I'm not going to make the Olympics, but like, it's part of who I am. It's always been part of who I am.
I think it's your new self now is just happy that you can have these things in your life. It doesn't have to be at the old level that you were at.
Yeah.
Because that's like that's a time of your life that's gone. You're a college athlete. Like that's your D1. You're the top of the top. It's okay to have this in your life, something that you were really, it made you who you were, and you were passionate. But now you're doing it at your speed.
Yes.
But because I feel like as athletes, you still want that as part of your identity. And that, I would say, it probably hurt when you were bigger Julie, not athletic Julie.
Yes.
It's like people didn't see that Julie anymore. And that hurts because you worked really hard to be that girl, right? And it's like, no, she is not gone.
Yeah.
I'll get her back, and now you got her back at your terms. So I think that's why you are like, okay, I can do this.
Yeah, and I think having my kids now see that part of me where
it's a different goal.
Like, COVID mom for
10
years, 9 years, like for them to now see
this athletic side
and the commitments I've made, and I'm sticking with it. And I think that's been such a big part of what we're trying to instill in them, because
absolutely,
my kids love to start things and quit them, and
all kids,
and it drives me insane. And
I used to think the ones born to athletes like you, they stay. No. They're the good kids. They're the ones who commit and they go all the way. No,
I drove my son to ninja training last night because that's what he wants.
That's what he wants
to be
now.
A professional ninja athlete.
Like,
and he said, Mom, he's 7, and he's like, Mom, how many sports have I quit? And I said,
he's counting.
Like, let's not keep track of it. Let's pick
let's
something.
Just keep moving on.
And I said, it's about finding what
let's just get happy.
And I said, this year we're going to work on committing. We're going to sign up for something and we're going to see it through.
I had that talk at 7 years old too, like with my kids. So you're on the right track. They fit into something. And we spent all this money on hockey because I was like, we live in Canada. Yeah. You need to like this.
Yeah.
And
Well, and I didn't find my sport until I was 15.
There you go.
I give them a bit of breathing room on it, but it's more the committing and following through for me that are kind of non-negotiables.
Exactly. And they're seeing it in you.
Yeah.
They're seeing that, oh, mom goes to something every day or every week. This is what she goes to her tennis tournament or whatever it is, and they see it in you. So they know, that's when they know they can't argue this. They can't. There's no getting out.
It's now every night, Mom, can we go for a walk? Can we go for a walk every night? So usually in this cold, it's no, but
yeah, exactly. Can you get on the treadmill? We'll take turns.
But I know that they're picking it up.
So we've had a few conversations on Instagram about, changing the language around eating disorders and how, it does need to be updated and how we view it. And I think people still have this really archaic way of looking at eating disorders that, we cannot tempt or, startle somebody with an eating disorder in any way. And it's like, well, then leave them, don't teach them.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like even I've been tried to where it's like, well, they have an eating disorder. You don't want to mess with that. Yeah. And it's like, but did we ever think that maybe nobody sat and taught them?
And I can tell you when I was in treatment, I never learned about nutrition.
Exactly. What did they teach you then about?
I will never forget. I think it was week 6 or 7. They made me go to a Burger King and sit in a restaurant and order Burger King. And I remember saying to them, I won't do it.
The athlete in me does not want this.
I'd never been to Burger King before. And I said, why would you force me to do that? And they said, well, that's your eating disorder brain. And I'm like, I don't think it is. I'm trying
This doesn't make sense.
This doesn't make sense to me. So I think when I started to do the research on your program, it was like, okay, so I'm eating throughout the day. I'm eating real foods.
And no, guess what? We don't want Burger King.
Yeah.
Because it's not good for us. Because now we know it's just some man-made crap.
Yeah. But so this was 16 years ago, and that was part of the recovery.
That was part of the programming.
Was let's take a bunch of girls with eating disorders into Burger King and force feed them. And I thought, there's something mixed up here.
And then I've also heard of concepts like eat whatever you want, like it's okay, like eat whatever you want, as long as it's calories.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean,
because they're eating now, and it's like, is that the goal, just to get them to eat anything?
Yeah. I honestly didn't learn about food until this past year. I've obviously read about it over the years, but totally. I think really kind of internalizing it and making it part of our life until this year.
And then also having that confidence now in educating your children of what to eat and why.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you to eat this because I want you to be skinny. No, I'm telling you to eat this because I want you to be full.
Yes.
And satisfied. And I want you to have energy when you go to your workout, to your sport.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's how we need to educate our children. That's how people with eating disorders need to be educated, is that food, a lot of food, having a lot of the right foods is what is good for us. Having a lot of the wrong foods is going to harm us, right?
I refer to them as our sometimes foods and our, I'm not going to say no to everything all the time.
No, I do not.
But they eat fairly well. I would say 85%.
80%, exactly.
80. There's some days where I'm like, okay, we phoned it in today.
Who cares?
But we survived.
Yeah.
So,
and you know what? You're human at the end of the day.
Yeah.
We try our best. Yeah. You get to that, but you've made it a priority. So every week there's a grocery list.
Yes.
There's a meal prep happening, and then
it's part of our life.
It's rinse, repeat. So your husband lost.
He's lost about 30. I don't know since then. He goes on and off.
Yeah.
But I will say one thing he said, make sure you mention that it's one of the easiest programs to always jump back into, because he said it's so seamless of like it's food.
Yeah, it's food.
It's meal planning and having it ready. And he travels a lot, so for him,
he does.
It's trickier to stay on track when he's traveling. But he thinks that the piece of just the consistency and being able to jump right back in has been the easiest part of it.
I'm sure remember this clip. And yourself, Julie, what's your total months on? Are we doing a photo shoot? What's happening? How much have you lost?
I've lost about 62.
Very nice. Congratulations.
Jumped between 60 and 62. But and I've been doing it since January 11th. And
we're almost coming up to a year.
Yeah. So. That's
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had some pretty good conversations in Instagram, and it was very insightful for me because I don't know what it's like to have an eating disorder. I lack sometimes the confidence to approach somebody because we get the DMs a lot. And so you just being very open and transparent with the information helps me communicate with others, and it helps others now realize like there are solutions, there is help that you can and educate yourself on food and, feel good.
Yeah. And it's certainly not part of my day to day anymore. And I think I sometimes feel so far removed from it, but I think this year kind of has been a very good like refocus on how to do this properly.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Yeah. So happy for you. Thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing and just educating people out there about.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I'm happy to.
It's awesome. Thank you. We're going to take over high schools soon.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I think I messaged you. Your son is in grade 4 and learned about macros.
Mm-hmm. Which is crazy to me. So I'm like, there change is happening.
For some Fudgios.
Exactly. In the same sentence. It's okay. Balance.